All right, guys, today's guest is the definition of strength with purpose. She's a former police officer, a professor in police foundations, an author, The Safety Blueprint, co-owner of 416 Tactical Supply, fitness professional, and somehow an amazing mom of four. She built her life around protecting, empowering, and educating others, and does it with a kind energy that makes you feel safer just being in the room. Please welcome to the show, Nichelle.
Stronger, smarter, faster, healthier, better.
Thanks. Hi.
All right, I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. We're having a little coffee. We'll have a little chat. So I guess the first thing is, what made you want to become a police officer? How'd you get into that? What was the time that you're like, I want to protect people?
I actually went through a pretty hard childhood. Mm-hmm. So I was sexually abused from the age of 7 to 14. So during that time, it was terrifying. I couldn't say anything. It's just the life of some victims. And unfortunately, it was my stepfather. So promises and threats and all kinds of stuff. When I was 14, I decided to, enough is enough. And I literally decided to tell my mom everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. And I had some support of some people. I had others that didn't. Mm-hmm. And one of the people who supported me were the police. Mm-hmm. And they took me through the whole process of going through all the legalities to just so much love and support at that age. And especially at a tender age of 14, when you're in high school, it was a hard time for me. Mm-hmm. People chatting and judging and, bullying, all that stuff. And the police helped me through every step of the way. And so I said to myself, this is what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be that protector for other women going through the same thing. So I decided to be a police officer back then. Mm-hmm. And then my brother-in-law, who just happened to also be an officer, he actually graduated all in that same area. And actually, I'm from Quebec originally, and he had moved to Ontario, and I went to see his graduation, and I saw them all march out in their graduation. It was just a beautiful ceremony. And it just reiterated the fact that I just have to do this. It's so powerful, and it's so, just beautiful. And he told me, he's like, I know you want to be an officer. I want you to do something else. Have a plan B just in case you head into policing and it's not something you like. Because I know that's what you want to do, but always have that plan B. So I took computer science for a bit. I was actually a computer programmer for a little while at an insurance company, and I didn't really like it. It just wasn't me. Mm-hmm. Being stuck in an office for 8 hours, it's just, no.
You have to be doing something.
Totally. Yeah. So I did it as a backup just in case, and it's always great to have a secondary, a side gig, which now I have many, but at the time that's what I did. And I got hired as a police officer at the young age of 24, and I packed up my car and I drove down the 401 with a hope and a dream, and literally here I am, so many years later. Yeah. A couple years ago,
not yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that's why I wanted to be an officer, but to be honest, that as well as walking into a kickboxing gym literally saved my life.
Yes,
yeah.
I read that you did martial arts.
I did, yeah. I was an amateur fighter for many years, and for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it really helped me. It helped me channel all my emotions, all the negative emotions, the sadness, the guilt, the anger, all that into a positive way. And so I literally walked into a kickboxing gym at the time. It was actually, I don't know if you probably know Georges St. Pierre, David Loiseau. TriStar. That was my gym.
You went to TriStar?
Yeah, back in the day. It is now not owned, but the original owner, his name is Conrad Pla, and he was my original coach. And
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where my life began, like my actual life. They saved me. Conrad saved me, mm-hmm.
That's amazing. When you talk about your history with sexual abuse, do you find it's still difficult to explain it? And also, do you think it's important to talk about it to help others?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I hadn't shared my story for almost, I think it was the exact time, I can't remember, 27 years. It happened. I went through it. I went through all what I had to do for me personally, but no one ever knew about it. Mm-hmm. I kept it quiet for 27 years, maybe for fear, maybe for fear of judgment. I don't know why. I just did. It's something very personal that you don't talk about. And
yeah, I feel because I've been physically abused by my father when I was younger, and I feel like I'm more honest. I'm 35 now. The most honest I've ever been about it probably like a year ago, and it's just like, but I find like when I talk about it like with other people who either understand or whatever, that it creates that most trust that like you can build.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to talk about that. When somebody putting their hands on you is like, it's one of the most intimate things, for good or for worse, right?
Yeah.
And it's especially by a parent.
Yeah.
Is one of the hardest things to deal with. Like even now I'm writing my book, and the first chapter is the first time that my father like beat me, and it's just like so hard to talk about. So, and it's just me writing it. So I'm just curious with you, like when you decide, okay, I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to be strong about it, like did you have some hesitation?
When I first told my story, I literally almost vomited. Like I did. I went into almost like a weird, it wasn't, I wouldn't say convulsions, but I was sweating. I was close to puking. It was really hard, but I would say like anything else, that first step, that first time you do it, anything's hard. And when you realize what an impact you have on people, as you can see, I still get choked up. It gets better each time, because from that, let's say the room, I can't even remember, maybe like 15 to 20 people, you create a bond, a special bond, because people understand you, or if they're going, so many people go through the same thing. And you never know by just looking at someone. They're happy, they're smiling, they're hiding behind their mask like everybody does. But what goes on is like, that's why you need to be kind and you need to consider it. You don't know what people are going through in their own life.
For sure. I mean, that's funny you actually say that, because in the first chapter that I write is the worse that the beatings were, the happier I would try to be outside.
Interesting, right?
Like that's how I like when I would like see my mom or whatever, I would try to be like the happiest that day, more excited that day to see things. But I was just like crumbling inside. So it's just interesting how you say like the mass, and you never know.
Yeah.
You just never know who's hurting inside.
It's so true.
What they're dealing with, right? Everybody, can get mad or whatever at like a gas station, whatever, but you don't know. You don't know what they're dealing with.
No idea.
I mean, there's some assholes out there.
Yeah.
But in general.
In general, yeah.
Even people like that, like hurt people, right?
For sure.
So
they really do.
So I just wanted to ask you like how you dealt with that, I guess. But
I find every time I go to a group, or every time I have, even a keynote speech, or if I go, like no matter where I am, if I share the story, there will be always people, if they don't do it at that moment because they're scared, they will always, I'll get a message, an email or something after. And some of them are very like horrendous stories that it puts a lot, like it takes a lot of weight off them, puts a lot of weight on me, but not really, because I can say, wow, like, thank you for sharing. I can't believe it, so I know that I'm doing good by sharing my pain. And it's also therapy for me, because, it really does help me release that every once in a while, it helps talk about it.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's funny because it's like, it's easy to say it helps to talk about it, but to like do it sometimes.
You're right. It's scary.
It's scary, right? Because you almost have to relive it.
You totally do, yeah.
Talk about it, right? I want to ask, how did you deal with the pressure and stress after shift work when you were an officer? I know a lot of officers, they go for a workout. I know some of them drink.
No.
Some of them like go do martial arts or jiu-jitsu, or like how did you deal with the pressure of like getting a call, seeing something that breaks your heart, keeping that composure, and especially a mom of 4 coming home and being a loving mother?
again, it's one of those things where, like 100%, like the stress of an officer, you go in every single day not knowing what you're going to deal with. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful career because you're never bored. There will always be crime and you'll always deal with something different. Even if you go to the same house, we always say we deal with 10% of the population 90% of the time. So you go to the same call or the same person or house doing the same. But
so you've had the times where you're like, Jimmy, I just saw you last week.
Why are you still in this relationship? Yeah. Or why, there's a lot of that. And I've also been to some pretty brutal calls, and you're right, it's a lot of stress. And, and hence a lot of people are talking about it now too, or going through, over the years, PTSD, and that is such a huge thing. And there's so much help for that now. There's, in the employee assistance program and this and that. But for me personally, I really had to learn how to separate the uniform to the person, not that I ever changed when I put on the uniform. Of course I had to change. I had to be, of course, in my professional, right? Yeah.
When you put on the uniform, you're essentially put on your cape.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I just changed capes.
You just change capes. And you're a mom.
Yeah. But I did have to work on, really creating, setting boundaries and really working on, okay, that was work. And now let's be mom, let's be wife, let's be, a friend, right? And I think it's just surrounding yourself with people who not are constantly in your circle. I loved work. I love the people at work. But if you hang out with them 100% of the time after work, during work, it's like you just talk shop. That's a good thing and a bad thing. Because, some people at home don't understand that. They really don't, and I don't blame them. But it's really, I guess it's all personal. I personally, my husband was on the job. So, but when we came home, we also had really strong family ties. Like my husband has a really close family, close knit. I had the boys. I had no choice to take care of them, and they were all young at the time. I have 4 boys, and they're 7 years, between 4 of them, they're 7 years. So at one time, we're literally switching in car pool lots. Here you go, it's your shift. And you don't have time to focus. Other people I don't know. And to be honest, being physically active, physically fit. I was fighting, amateur fighting up until I started having kids. And after that, I turned into fitness competitions. So for me, that was just a way to focus on something else.
Yes, just pivot.
And it still kept me fit, and I could do it on my own time. That was a great thing, because with fighting it was really hard because you had to be at the gym at a specific time, and you're sparring 3 people. You're there, literally there for 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
When you do a fitness competition, as long as your eating is on point, you can kind of do your workouts when you had time.
Yeah.
So just a way of managing, like anything else, trying to fit it in. When there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, that's true. That is true about that. Also training. It's funny. I always think I want to have one more match, right? I'm like, okay, I got time. I can do one more match. And then Stacy's like, what time? You have a baby at home. Yeah, we have the podcast. We have the business. I don't really want to make time for it now because that's so much commitment, right?
It's much commitment.
So much commitment, and it's you make time for what you want. So not in a negative way, but you come to realize, okay, maybe it's not really a priority.
Yeah, it all depends, right?
What your priority is at that time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's good that you had that pivot. When you pivoted to that, were you scared to get into was it a bikini show? Was it a physique show?
Yes, it was. Also, if the categories, and I did figure. So, but at first I did fitness model because it was the first time I had ever done it. So I kind of, played the fitness model, I dressed up and did that. But it just, I don't know, it wasn't for me. So I wanted something with a little bit more structure in terms of, mandatory poses and not flirting on stage. I don't know. It's just me personally.
I understand what you mean.
And it was just great to focus. And I already thankfully was naturally athletic, or I had built muscle over the years from just training with, kickboxing and boxing. So the dedication and the mindset of doing something like that was easier for me. It wasn't easier than, let's say someone who just kind of wants to do it for the first time. So that's pretty much what led me into coaching, because, my transition from boxing to fitness competitions, I saw my own transformation. I say physical, and other people at work also saw it. So they're like, how'd you do that? You know, I said, I don't know, I just followed my coach's instructions and here you go. I mean, that sounds easy, but, and so they wanted to know. And then so I started, you know, finding out more how it was actually done, the science behind it and the eating and the nutrition and the training. And I just started training people. And the first, you know, my first client was actually, I said, okay, you're going to be my guinea pig. Let me just try this. And she lost 80 pounds. And I'm like, that's a great guinea pig, right? So, and honestly, she, word of mouth and all that. And I literally organically grew into a fitness coach without even, I don't want to say without wanting it, without, you know, going out and
organically.
It totally came. And then it was a snowball effect. I was so busy on my days off, and we worked at the time 4 days on, 4 days off. My 4 days off were busy with the kids. And then now I was doing everything online, even before online training was a thing. It was the only way that I could manage, because I lived out in the country and I didn't have a gym, like a gym membership for people to come in and train.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just literally do it online. So it was wonderful. And I got so busy. At the same time, my husband, Dave, he started doing photography because, as you know, in the fitness industry, everyone wants to do photo shoots when they look good, including me. And he's like, you're going to pay what? So he goes, no, I'll just do it. So he did some research. He bought a camera, had no idea what he was doing. And he turned out to be literally one of the Canada's most published photographer. Yeah, it's crazy. Our journey was just an insane,
just a little bit.
Yeah, and there came a time when we were just too busy, and that's when we decided to pull the plug. We loved both what we did, and we just said, let's go and be our own bosses, essentially have a little bit more freedom, so to speak, like when you're on your own and not just be tied to a job or a career. And let's try entrepreneurship. And that's essentially why we left. You know, I loved my career, and now it's just time to branch out, spread your wings, jump, and you'll find your wings along the way.
Yeah, that's true. And you jumped into owning a gym, right?
Yes. Oh.
Right? And how did that go?
It was wonderful. it was.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yes.
Because, when you're in something, no matter what it is, you don't see, because you're spinning your wheels. You're trying to make it work. You do everything possible to stay positive, obviously, because you want it to work. Mm-hmm. And I left my career for this, so it has to work. Mm-hmm. And it was working. Mm-hmm. We had at one point we had 13 trainers. So we did personal training. Mm-hmm. Then we had group sessions, functional lifting and we did great. And we had group classes. It was a great community. To be honest, it was. And I still had my online stuff. And Dave had his photography studio attached to it would be you have the gym portion and then you have the studio.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect. Until COVID. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't so perfect. Literally, COVID killed us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Stacey and I, we leased a spot. We got a spot in another place in Aurora. We got it, and then we were gonna start renos. And then 2 weeks later, the lockdown happened, and then the landlord disappeared for a year, came back and said, "You owe me a year's worth of rent." We're like, I don't think so. And then all the people in the plaza kind of started talking to each other, and we eventually end up breaking the lease. But it was just so crazy because at that time, everybody talks about the entrepreneur spirit. All right, guys, we'll get back to the podcast, but I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to our sponsors, Northern Hydration. So it's a Canadian company. They sell electrolytes. They have lemon, they have lime, they have orange. My favorite is the orange. It's one of the best flavors in my opinion. But use our discount code GetAlpha10. Other than that, let's get back to the episode. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about, it really shows you your grit and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But that was really one of the times where, as an entrepreneur, you were powerless. Mm-hmm. You really had, the government literally deemed you not essential.
Health,
which is
fitness. Weird. No, it was, Doug Ford came to our place. We were on the news. He came, he even said, this is so nice. And I know, so then do something about it. But, the higher aboves and that's a whole, I've never, other than something breaking me, of course, what happened in my childhood, that was the very first time something else broke me. Mm-hmm. And see, I get choked up again. Because there's something when you build something from scratch, your blood, sweat, and tears. and you do everything possible, and you're in a great mindset, and I totally was. Everything was going great. We had taken our first vacation as a business, which it's really hard, especially with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And it gets taken away from you and there's nothing you can do about it. I did everything. And I've mentioned this before, like I remember my mom passing away, okay? Well, she was very ill. And I had my phone and I was teaching a class to Zoom because why? Because I had to keep things going. I had to try and do my best. And I said to the class, I'm sorry, but my phone's going to be here because my mom's like, why? Like looking back now, why was I doing that? But of course I was doing it because I wanted to survive. I had to survive. I had to make this work and it didn't. So it's like, I don't have regrets. Oh, like I had maybe that regret because I got to see her still, but just little things like that because you did everything at the same time. I think if I didn't do that, I would never know if I did enough. And I can honestly 100% say that I did enough to try and save that and I couldn't do it. And that's what killed me. And I didn't realize, but I think after that, like honestly, we had to rebuild, we had to pivot and adapt and do all that stuff because we couldn't get out of our lease. You know how you said, no. We have a huge space. It's like 10,000 square feet in Toronto. So we were going to go back to policing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He wouldn't let us out of the lease. And we're like, oh my God, now what? Like now we were like, it was a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess for us too, because our lawyer was basically like, listen, you can just get out of there, and because it's unprecedented times, nothing will happen, but you also have to kind of roll the dice and see if nothing will happen. He's like, I can't tell you like 100%, but most likely you'll be okay. But still, that's super nerve-wracking. Like at that time, I was possibly going to get married, and then we want to have a kid and stuff like that, so it's just like so nerve-wracking, right? Because that's your idea, your vision, and you kind of have to be like, that's not happening.
No, it's crazy. And, for me, a couple of years prior, actually it was 3 years before, it was 2017, where there's another crazy story, but it was a crazy story. We sold our house, and on the day of closing, the people didn't close on us. And we had already moved somewhere else, like to kind of, like keep the cash flow and this and that of a, whatever. They didn't close on us. So when we resold, we had to resell, put it back on the market, and we took a huge hit. And even that, we sued the people and we won the judgment. We were so happy. It took like 2-3 years. We won the judgment.
That's crazy. It takes so long.
Takes so long, but imagine I won the judgment. So it's like giving you a lottery ticket, and the next day they went bankrupt. So nope, that's not yours. Literally nothing.
Oh man.
So we went through that hit. Then we went through the COVID hit, and I'm just like, so I didn't want to fight anymore. Yeah. I said, okay, if we're not going to be able to pay the rent, we need to figure out something. And that's literally how my tactical shop was born.
Yeah, perfect segue. I wanted to ask you about that. Like, so explain to the audience what exactly that is.
I realize that not a lot of people know what a tactical store,
I do.
But it's funny because speaking of our friend Philomena, I went to, and I was talking with her and her group, and I'm like, oh, I want a tactical store. And everyone's like, what's a tactical store? And I'm like, oh, I guess you don't know. And maybe I wouldn't have known either, but because I was an officer, of course I knew what it was. But essentially, it's a place. Now it could be on ours. Ours is an actual, brick and mortar, which is our old gym. Okay. And we have all tactical gear, equipment, accessories, anything like that can better help an office. Well, it's not just officers. It's anyone in the emergency services do their job better. So we have everything from and military. So I would say like our customers are pretty much police, fire, military, CBSA, like anyone in that circuit.
So a person like me can't go.
You can, yeah. And actually, it's funny because Saturdays, all, your non-emergency services, people seem to come in and it's like, hunters or, end of world preppers, or it's just nosy people. And they like, well, we have a lot. Airsoft guys, paintball people, like it's all kinds of different people. And sometimes it just randomly, because we have signs outside and they always see like, what's a tactical store? They come in. You'd be surprised. I mean, we sell coffee and we also provide coffee. People walk in. We have just, we sell everything from sleeping bags to like food containers if you're kind of, heading out to camping, or if you want to You know, we have handcuff keys, bulletproof vests, pants, boots, like anything you can imagine is pretty much in our store. And if we don't have it, we could get it in, you know?
Interesting.
So, yeah, it's a pretty neat, like it's completely different, obviously, because retail was never my thing, obviously.
But this is a different kind of retail.
Yeah.
Right? And you like, and it must be nice to like, because you still stay in that community of police. Right.
It is. It actually feels like I'm still policing, just in a different form.
Yeah,
because if anything, I always laugh at when we own the gym, I'm like, I haven't seen you guys for 5 years, and now I see you all the time. Like I see my old friends, I meet new friends. I'm staying relevant in everything, and you know, it's funny. It's like it was a rebirth of me in some ways because I stopped policing. I went to complete full-on fitness, and even my social media, which I'm huge on, was all fitness at the time. And I was trying to promote my programs and promote the gym and promote my online things. When I lost the gym, I went like, wow. And because I do my own social media, I was not in the mood to influence or motivate anybody. I was human. Yeah, I was down and out. However, pivoting, I thought, oh my gosh, how can I change my social media to now reflect new me? How do I bring people to a tactical store? How do they know what that is? So I'm like, okay, with my fighting experience, kind of like, you know, a lot of people don't say kickboxing is martial arts. I get it. But with you know, I know, but you know, like the jiu-jitsu and the karate and the judo, like, that's not real martial art, whatever. You know, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, with my experience in self-defense in general, my work as a police officer, so just the knowledge of the law, helping protect in general, how would I change my social media to now provide safety tips to the general public, to anyone who wants to hear them, and self-defense, and start something in that niche. There's not many women who do it. Let's try it. And when I started to do that, crazy enough, it literally just caught on fire for whatever. I mean, it's great. I mean, my TikTok just like soared. At the time too, everyone was doing TikTok. And it's almost like a rebirth. So it was great because now I don't know, hindsight's 2020. It was almost, it gave me an extra, you know, I guess a rebirth of strength in some ways. So there's always a silver lining, I guess you can say. Yeah,
that's true. It depends on how you reframe things, right?
Yeah.
So I guess going into that, how did you start writing the safety blueprint? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, safety blueprint.
So how did you end up writing that?
That's like, I've been wanting to do a book for a long time. I just didn't really know what exactly I wanted to write about. Because since sharing my story and how I was wondering how many people were really wanting to hear my story, and was I able to fully write down everything? I don't know that I could do that as much as raw as I am. And would people want to actually hear about that horrific time, or or should I do something a little bit more practical? So after just like kind of years of listening to people, I say women in general because that's who I connect with, obviously. Women not feeling safe, or women being in situations where, you know, I'm trying to help them, and like it's, you know, and just by being situationally aware, or just learning simple steps like guidelines, a step-by-step guideline, essentially, a blueprint of how to better protect yourself and stay just relevant in your safety environment in general. How can I do that? And that's literally how the book happened. It's like, who is my audience? Who can I reach out to? And it's stuff that I do on social media anyways, for the most part. Instead of looking and scrolling and like, what video was that? Here it all is kind of laid out in a safety blueprint for you.
Yeah, you give.
And I wish I had a copy with me today. I'm sorry.
We're gonna buy it. Don't worry.
No.
But what would I want people to go get the book, Safety Blueprint. But what is one thing that, like a habit or something that you can say right now that they can use out there from the safety blueprint that would help? Something maybe common, but since common sense is not common. It's not, you know, and I think I say that in my book, but I would probably say one of the most important things, especially to women, because it is trusting your instinct. Because so many times we as women or people just don't trust the instinct because we're being too polite. Right? Because we're taught, especially as Canadians,
be polite, don't bite, don't hit, this and that. Sometimes you don't trust that instinct, you don't listen to that instinct because you're trying to be polite. Ignore it. Your instinct and your gut is telling you something for a reason. Remove yourself from that situation. Be more aware. Watch the cues. What's happening? Why are you feeling that way?
Trust your gut.
Get out. Trust your gut. Totally. So if there's like one key thing, that, and always be aware of your surroundings. I say that all the time, but it's so true.
But let's get into that. So situational awareness. What exactly is it? People hear it. It's a buzzword now. But what exactly is that for people?
It literally is just being aware of everything, your environment, the people around you, walking into somewhere. Okay, you walked in now, you walk out. Where's the exits? Do you know where they are? Do you go into, what happens if something happens in a mall, which isn't, nowadays uncommon? How do you get out? What if you can't go out the same way you came in? Where should you go? You go into a store, go into the back door, go into the stock room. Usually the stock room, there's another door out there that leads out to a hallway for the most part, where they do all their deliveries and stuff. Head back there. It's just being aware, watching people, watching their their demeanor, body language is huge. Are they clenching? Are they getting ready? Are they being, just aggressive, just in nature? There's just so much that, and just being aware literally of your environment. People are so distracted nowadays. Honestly, it's crazy. We're all, myself included. Hey, I work on the phone all the time, but you know what? Okay, look up, scan constantly. If you're at a subway or doing public transport, or public transit, stand against a wall. Don't be in the open and just, look around and get back, or your emails, if they're not that important, they can wait. If you're sitting in the car, lock the doors. I've had so many people, or, a couple of people in general just come up to me and say that people have tried their doors, getting into their car, trying to get in with them. It's crazy, but if they're just more aware, and I'm not victim blaming, I'm just saying, like, lock your doors when you get in, and then start your car, or then check your email if you really have to, or if you're waiting for your kid. That's all. Yeah. Little tips like that, that person looking at you or bumping into you in Walmart or like a department store or grocery store that many times must be watching you, or why is someone sitting in that car? Just take a look around. Are they looking or waiting for someone? Or there's so many scams and so many thefts and so many, carjackings and just distraction thefts.
I find that it's becoming more intense lately in the last couple of years.
It really
they're
is.
becoming almost, I say this loosely, but becoming more brave.
Yeah.
Doing things
because they know not much is going to happen to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are sending the young ones out, right? So there's like a head guy at the top, or head guy or girl at the top, and sending their little minions out because they know they're not going to get a lot if they get caught. And some of them don't even know each other. This is your job, and you're going to go do this. This is your job, you're going to go this, and so. If they do get stopped or they do get caught, who are you working with? They literally don't know. So it's not even that they're lying. They don't know. They just have the job to do and they got paid for it. That's all they care, right? That's all they care about.
Yeah.
And giving money, especially a pretty good sum, to someone who's, 14, 15.
World of a difference.
Yeah,
of course.
Unemployment for youth especially is up so much. Like fast cash, why not?
Yeah.
So it's out of control.
For sure. Verbal boundaries and de-escalation. What really works in real world setting, like a parking lot or a crowded bar? Because that can get a little crazy, right? If you're in a parking lot, somebody hits you, let's say, you guys get into an argument, or you're kind of quiet, the person is getting a little bit more aggressive. Let's say you're a female. Like, how you de-escalate the situation? What's the best way to de-escalate stuff?
First of all, in that situation, if someone is aggressive and this and that, don't even get out of your call, call 911 if you're in danger. If it's a situation where, things are getting heated, or in a bar and you feel uncomfortable. Hey, what I always say, like, de-escalation is something especially that officers use all the time, especially because you show up in your uniform. So a lot of people is, you look intimidating. So to bring down that intimidation factor, in certain cases, you de-escalate. Your tone has to change. Your body language may change, right? Depending on what it is. You want to stay confident, but you also want to be calm, depending on the situation. You yelling and screaming at somebody isn't going to change, anything. You're just going to bring it up a level. So bring it down, but stay confident. You can always use this international, sign, stop, or, if that gets on anyone's nerves or makes them even madder, just, calm down, we'll figure this out. That being said, hey, leaving the situation is also a form of de-escalation. Don't be afraid to leave. If you, maybe not in an accident situation, but like pull yourself away.
At a bar, let's say.
Pull yourself away. If you feel like you're not getting anywhere, or like you're to stay calm and your tone isn't working, remove yourself from the situation entirely. That's a form of de-escalation, though. It really is.
Yeah, I mean that's 100% accurate. I want to talk to you about online safety for women. What are the top 2 mistakes that they do, or that happen?
Sharing their location. Well, at the time of,
Sharing
right?
your location.
Actually, I've seen people share their actual location, but just in general, hey, I'm here now. I do the same thing too. If I'm away somewhere and I'm, but I do it after the fact. Or even if it's, let's say you go out for dinner, do it later. Oh, hey, great. We had a great time tonight, but you're already gone. Just don't do it at the moment. Like,
I'm at, this place right now.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here. There's your target, right? That, and I would say probably passwords, weak passwords. So always, use strong. I know we say it so often, or you hear it in all the time, but it is true, because if someone knows your password or gets a hold of one password, chances are you're probably using the same password for pretty much all your, well, I can't really look over there. No, but it's true, right? So change them or use a 2-factor authentication. Sorry, that word is, and what I often say, cards are one thing too. Like I would say always use your mobile phone, or you have like a wallet or whatever to pay, because it always generates a new one-time code each time you pay. So instead of using your actual debit card and entering in your PIN, which probably doesn't happen a lot now anyways, most people tap. But I would use my phone. I always use my phone for that, because it generates a new number each time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know that was in social media. That was a little bit of a tip, but I would say, passwords and probably sharing too much is a big,
But that makes
problem.
sense. That makes sense. If you could build an 8-week starter plan for women who want to feel safer and stronger, what would it include?
That's a good idea for a plan. I'm going to add that to that's really good.
Seriously, you can take it.
Thanks. You want commission?
Just a coffee.
No, it's actually, because I was thinking, wow, that's really good. I would say, honestly, weeks 1 and 2 would be kind of like the starter, right? It would be, I would say, mindset, working on situational awareness, because a lot of people don't know how to improve your situational awareness. So find your baseline. What's your normal situational awareness? And then build on that. Start practicing. Okay, when I go into somewhere, where's the exits? What would I do what if this happened, without getting paranoid, right? You're never being paranoid. You're being mindful of reality, because unfortunately reality nowadays, it's crazy. It's not what it used to be. And I think so many people feel like it's not going to happen to them or their community. And sure enough, we see it all the time, right? So I think weeks 1 and 2 would probably be that, just developing that situational awareness, those skills, that mindset. Weeks 3 and 4, I'd probably incorporate a little bit of fitness into that, because when you're strong, you come across as a harder target. So whether that's strength training, even just, even without weights, just body weight stuff, cardio, all those little things just to incorporate. Because once you feel better and you'll look better. And I'm talking, chin up, shoulders back, all that incorporates into everything. Body language, exactly. What was I on? Weeks 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6 would actually be self-defense techniques, I think. So your common strikes, your common escapes, even boundary settings, learning how to boundary set, like all those things.
Yeah, and then I would close right now.
Yeah. Back up. That kind of, so working on all that. And I would say like week 7 and 8, putting it all together. So using that mindset, fitness. Now you feel stronger, you feel better, you're using confidence, and now you're using those techniques. So I'm going to use that for my...
That's good. What are some crime prevention tips?
Oh, so many.
Day to day.
Day to day, I think the most...
sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I just saw
okay.
something actually yesterday. Do you see a lady in Europe, in Italy or something like that? These 2 pickpocketers stole her wallet, her AirPods, her cash, and she found them because she was like, find my AirPods or something like that. And these pickpocketers were like 15, 16. And like they pretended like they didn't know what they were doing, but like she went straight to the person, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I know when I went to Europe too, the biggest thing, it's like, hey, like, don't just like, oh, how much is this in cash and blah, blah, blah. So
unfortunately, it is like that. You have to be wary of everybody. You know, the distraction thefts, the pickpocketing is happening. So, and you know what? They prey on the vulnerable, specifically nowadays, and for a long time, but you just hear a lot about it as all our seniors, you know, our parents, our grandparents, and they're walking up to them and literally just taking chains off them, rings off them, and just distracting them in general. Distraction theft is a huge thing. It's crazy. So what I'm trying to educate and I'm trying to make people aware of is just, you know, make sure you tell your parents and the scams, like, you know, don't let anyone come close to you. Don't answer or touch, you know, click any links. I don't care. They come at the really good time. You know, we were doing a deal yesterday, like a business deal or whatever, and we were dealing with lawyers. Do you know, even my husband got an email from a lawyer yesterday, and we thought, oh, and it was a docu, you know, one you sign. Yeah. Like, that's weird. And so I'm like, no, don't wait. No, we both said no. And sure enough, it was just really weird timing. It's like, how did they know? And it was an actual scam. So good thing we didn't, but the timing was perfect. Or it's like, you know, when you're waiting for a delivery and you get, you know, you get like a random scam from a delivery company, you know, click here and enter your info. It happens. Like, they must be making a killing. It's sickening.
Back in the day, you just have to be worried about like a Nigerian prince.
Yeah, that's right. Sending you $1 billion for.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode. I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to one of our sponsors for the podcast, Methylene Blue. You can find this at Paradigm Supplements. We like to use it here at the podcast just because it helps with gut health, immune system, ATP performance. Use code GETALPHA15 for a little bit of money off. Other than that, let's get back to the episode. He just needs your your bank accounts or whatever. Now it's so much harder to deal with this.
I know.
Yeah, so how do you know though if there's distraction thefts? Like, what's a good sign of them?
Well, and that's why it works so hard, because sometimes you actually don't know. But I would just literally be wary, especially parking lots. It happens often because you are distracted. You either have bags in your hands or, you know, moms with their kids and so much stuff. And just always be wary of kind of people sitting in cars. Like, why are they sitting? I mean, they could be waiting for someone. Granted, I get it. You don't want to be paranoid, right?
Yeah.
But if someone kind of comes up to you, and usually what they'll do, again, I'm being general because that's usually it's a young woman. They'll come up, or they'll use a kid and they'll say, you know, oh, hey, and whether it's asking for directions or asking a question, which gets you kind of into talking or getting distracted into helping them. Meanwhile, there's someone that they're working with, one or two people that are taking things from your car. Let's say your purse, because I'm saying in a situation where you've gone grocery shopping or shopping at a department store and you've kind of put your purse and you're going to bring back the buggy. So a situation like that, someone's going to distract you. Meanwhile, there's somebody stealing your personal belongings from your car.
It's crazy.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. So uncomfortable because you shouldn't feel like that, right?
No, it's terrible. So those are pretty much the common ones. I'm just saying, like, you know, unfortunately, you can't help people anymore. You want to, or just, you know, if you're really going to, just be wary and keep all your belongings on you and just be careful. Don't let anyone come into your space, literally into your space, put anything on you because they're probably taking something off of you at the same time, you know?
That's interesting. What are some simple tips for people to be safer at home people forget to do? I've read a stat that there are more break-ins in summer because people leave the window open.
Yeah.
Right? And actually, to add to that, I know somebody who their house got broken into, and while they were sleeping, and all the doors at the bottom were locked, but they snuck in because they left the window open for some fresh air. And to add to that, all these people wanted were their passports and IDs.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But is that I read that stat. Is that a real stat though?
Yeah, and yes, it is. And it totally, I mean, I don't know the exact number of the stat, but it's so true because a lot of, you know, even alarms, if your alarm is on, most of the time the contacts are on the main level. So it's very rare that you'll have, you know, your alarm contacts on the top floor. So you get a ladder or something, you know, or sometimes they'll take their own ladder. What I often tell people.
That's what these people did. They
they brought their own ladder. Yeah.
That's why that was my question, because the way you gestured, you kind of you insinuated it was the second floor.
It was.
But you didn't
Was.
clarify. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It was the second floor, and these
It was a
people.
door. It was like a little like Juliet balcony, and it was a door that they had just left open for fresh air. It wasn't even like a full window.
Yeah.
It was sad because she was laying down, and then she's, you know how you just kind of wake up, like,
Yeah.
you kind of looking around, whatever, and she was facing her husband, and I'm sure she was admiring his good looks, and she was looking at her husband, and then he's just like, and then all she hears, because the guy was just, I guess, clearing his throat, and she's looking at her husband like his lips, nothing moved. But you're half asleep, so you're like, what the heck? And then she hears like, again, and then she kind of turns, and then like see like a shadow, whatever. So she wakes up her husband, but she's like, you need to stay really calm, blah blah blah. So they called 911 while in the bed and like whispered, and they're like, okay, like pretend to, like, is he hurt, whatever. They don't even know they're in there. Just pretend you're still asleep. And then they just both waited. The police were like, we'll be there in like 5 to 10 minutes, whatever. And then they both decided, like, after 5 minutes, they're gonna 1, 2, 3 run to the washroom, lock it, barricade it. Mm-hmm. And they did. And these people got scared. I left. All the jewelry, all the expensive things were untouched. The only things that were out were their passports and their IDs, which is so scary. Because one, they definitely cased them, which is so like icky. And two, like IDs. You think like take the jewelry, take the cash.
Yeah,
IDs
it's all materialistic, like, right?
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Insurance, everybody's got insurance.
Yeah.
But that's scary. That's super scary because I think what a lot of people don't realize.
So evasive, like, it just come into my house.
Could you explain like why the IDs and passport? Like, because once you know it's gone, you're gonna report it gone. It's not going to be useful.
Well,
like, what's the use?
Now that she knew it was gone, it had already happened, but had they didn't know so many things. I mean, even oh my god, a huge one is the mortgage one. You know, you open up bank accounts, you open up mortgages, and the next thing you know, these people are like probably in huge debt under their name, but it's not their, you know, it's like,
said,
oh
like
my
they
god.
rack up these people's debt,
Yeah.
their credit score or whatever, and then they just dish the cards out.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy. Yeah, no, and that's exactly what they do because they have or it could be for anything, just having, you know, who knows what's going on behind the scenes, whether it's trafficking, like just having extra IDs to give, to sell. I mean, to sell IDs is a huge business.
Is it?
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, just in trafficking, I know it's scary.
Yeah, it's
I have everything in a safe, like, you know, and bolted and like, you know.
I expected that.
Yeah, well, I know. It sounds weird coming from me, I guess, because you're like, yeah, of course you do.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is one of those things I have to tell people. Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge business.
So for home safety, like big things I'm trying to think on the top of my head, big things to realize, like always, obviously, garage door.
Yeah, don't have your garage door opener in your car either. Because a lot of times, even if, you know, many people have access to their home through the garage. So if you have the garage door opener, they'll steal that, come back a later time when you're not home and use the garage door opener to open to then get in your house, right? So don't have, or you're going, oh my God, mine's in my car.
No. Wouldn't you hear that? The garage.
No, but they'll come back later, right?
Okay,
So they'll steal the garage door opener for later and then come back when you're not home, and then they'll gain access into your house through the garage.
And then, leaving the window open.
Definitely, just shut them all. I mean, you know, yeah.
There's nothing that we can do to like.
Well, I mean, you can get a couple of really mean dogs. I have 2 German. You're gonna go, I know you do. Yeah. No, we do. We have 2 German Shepherds.
You know.
You know, but.
Yeah,
you know?
it's true. I have a dog. His name's Bullet.
That's appropriate.
Yeah. He whenever the door opens, whatever, he'll bark. Yeah. And especially if it doesn't see it's like me or my wife. But he's not really a good guard dog. He like rolls on his belly. But at least he'll let us know.
No, he'll let you know. Actually, it's a funny story, true story, or you know, one of those. My husband Dave, he stopped someone one time, and it was on a break and enter. You know, one of those. He was investigating somebody, and they had arrested him, and they were looking through his like his stuff, and he opened up this paper, and it was basically a map or whatever, printout of the community, and there were X's on certain locations. And so he's like, "What are the X's for?" I want to. You know. He goes, "Oh, those are like homes that have dogs. We don't hit those." And that's a true story. So having a dog, just even if it's not a violent one or a big dog, you know. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what I tell people? It's like, it's called CPTED. So crime prevention through, oh my God, environmental design.
Okay.
Crime prevention through environmental design. Now, it's a program, and I've not been a police officer, like, active for a while, but we used to do it for free. I'm sure you still do if you call the community, the community police section of the police, and they will go to your house and they will do basically a summary or go over and report all the things that they feel that you should do to better protect your house. Or you can do it yourself, is go around your house, pretend you're a criminal. How would you get in? Like, are your bushes way too, are they overgrown where you can't see anything? Mm-hmm. Shave them down, cut them down where you can actually have a direct access from your window to out there. Because, anytime, any time you can hide or, behind something or, make sure you put your ladders away. Do you have stones or rocks? Of course, landscaping is beautiful. But again, these are tools that could possibly be used. So let's say, someone uses a nice, pretty stone, smash your window to get in. Mm-hmm. Again, is it far-fetched?
Makes sense.
It sounds far-fetched, but it happens.
Yeah.
These are stories that I bring to people because I've seen it or I've been on calls when that happens, right?
That's
definitely lock up, get an alarm system, have spotlights, the motion sensor, have them lit, make sure the cameras, you have several of them, front door, front lawn, side doors, back doors, why not? Usually you can get a pack of, for sure, yeah.
Or something like
exactly, yeah, prime.
How do you take frontline experience and translate it into the lessons for the young students? Because right now you're a professor for
yes,
positions, right?
Yes.
So how do you use your experience to help educate them better?
So with my police they're a little bit older. When I'm talking to almost a younger crowd, if I am, I take kind of, even with the older ones, I take kind of the jargon away. I don't want to scare anybody because I never want to educate people with fear. Mm-hmm. I take and I tell them real life stories. I mean, I have a lot from my policing background, my policing experience. So instead of saying, be aware, or, even my own kids, instead of saying, don't do that because they've heard it all, and they're not going to listen after a while. Instead
saying, I know.
Yeah. So instead saying, here's what to do to stay in control if you're in this situation. Mm-hmm. So instead of giving them all the jargon, give them how to fix it if you're in a situation or, or even the kids, the same thing, just make it a positive experience.
I hear that. How do you coach resilience without making people numb to reality?
Fear can do many things, including, allow you to freeze, right? So what I try to tell people and instill people is, again, using that fear and turning it into a positive thing, meaning fight through it in these ways. So giving them kind of tools and examples on, instead of turning it into, freeze, how to set that into a positive thing. Mm-hmm. So, don't scare them. Again, don't use fear as the motivation.
And when you are in police foundations and talking to people like that, do you ever see someone, and I'm going to say this loosely, but basically you shouldn't be here?
Oh, there's a lot.
You know what I mean? In a sense of because I do feel an officer or a firefighter, any of those, there's a certain part of grit that you should have initially. Yeah. And then obviously things can grow after that.
Yeah.
But as a male, I can definitely talk, when I was younger, all I wanted to do was help people. Mm-hmm. And I initially wanted to be on SWAT, the Canadian version of that. And I do think males romanticize at a young age to be an officer or a firefighter, right? And then they can't really understand how the actual troubles of it, right? Or maybe they're forced by it because their grandparents were an officer or something like that. Do you ever see someone who, from your experience and your heart of hearts, that maybe this is not the best role for them? And if that, you do see that, how do you deal with that in the sense of not breaking their spirit?
same thing that my brother-in-law said to me. Remember how I said he told me to do something else just in case? So it's not that I encourage them, but I give them that idea because a lot of times I do see that. Sometimes it's because they may not want to be an actual officer. They want to do something in that, like forensics or in, because they're strong in stuff like that, but they're not strong in actual being there as an officer. But you still have to do that in order to do the rest of it. So I don't know. Sometimes grit, depending on the person, can be taught, but other times you have it or you don't.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so I'll often, it's not really my decision,
But you must see it.
I see it often.
Yeah.
My job is to make sure my job as I'm teaching, again, my portion in what I do, I teach fitness to these guys. So I'm going to make sure that they're going to be at least physically fit when they're done my class. That is my duty as not only a professor, but as a person who wants to help. So I will pull them aside. You seem like you're having trouble. Is there anything I could do to help? Can I give you any extra work? Can I give you a workout? Can I improve something that will help improve their fitness level and their performance? That being said, in our other classes, that I don't know.
Well, that is also their jobs, right? To educate
exactly.
them, right? You do yours and you trust that they're doing theirs.
Yeah. And a lot of people do come to me with questions, or if they're not sure, I tell them the truth. I'm like, well, this is a hard job. It's going to be a really hard career. That being said, you do it for the first, 3 to 5 years, especially nowadays. I said, then you can go into other units. But if you can't do it, please don't do it, because not only putting yourself in harm's way, you're putting your partner and your whole team, your platoon, your servant, everything. It filters from there. Don't do it if you don't feel comfortable doing it. Do something else,
I think that's fair. Okay, I want to chat a little bit about your family. How do you teach your kids to be aware without making them anxious about everything?
They're just used to it.
They're just used to it?
Well, I treat them the same way like I do with even the young kids, as I talked about. So I give them, even improving their situational awareness. When they were smaller, I turn things into games. It's if you tell kids something, they're not going to listen, but you turn it into something fun, like improving their situational awareness. Like, okay, how many red cars are we going to be passing in our trip to wherever we're going? So you're teaching them how to look for things. How to point out those red cars. How many different license plates do you see? Give me a license plate that has a personalized one. And it's all games, but you're actually teaching them to look for things. When you go into the movies, hey, how do we get out, guys, if something happened? And I don't say anything necessarily bad, but if something happened and, the lights went out and we couldn't see, there's no, what's the best way out? So little tricks like that where you're not instilling fear and you're saying, what if a fire, or a gunman came in,
Yes.
What if the lights went out, It's just a way of kind of practicing those, skills and making them aware in a fun way. Same thing kind of like I do for the little guys.
Interesting. Okay, I've read that you've been married for 20 years?
Yeah. My husband would say 5 minutes.
Wow.
Underwater.
Which speaks volumes in today's society. Over those 2 decades, what have you learned about building a strong relationship?
Communication. Honestly, communicate. I don't know, that sounds so typical, but yeah, communication, compromise. Funny story, we were married after 6 months of meeting each other in Vegas. Yeah.
Vegas?
Yeah.
Next year, tell me Elvis did it.
No, close. It was a rapper. It was so it was. In all honesty, we went to California. My sister lives there, and she took us on a trip. I don't know. Okay, but the Friday was the only day that we were alone. Because my sister had been taking us all over the place, and he asked me to marry. So that was our engagement on the Friday, and we were going to Vegas anyways. My sister was taking us there. Just to see Vegas. So while we were looking for shows and whatnot to do, we saw oh my God, look, so many people get married here. And so when we got to our hotel, it was a Flamingo. It was like the oldest, hotel there.
Love it.
We started walking around and we saw so many people getting married and how easy it was. And I'm so spontaneous. I do something let's just do it.
Quitting your business, getting the gym.
Yeah, I literally figure things out after the fact, right? And so we just walked into the chapel, hey, how do you do this? And all you need to do is go get they're used to it too. Go get a marriage certificate, and we have this 115, 415, and we're we just looked at you want to, And I called my mother. I just wanted to make sure like she was okay. She's like, yeah, I'm fine. She goes, I've had 6 other kids and whatever. I don't care. I'm like, okay. And I rented my dress. I was wearing flip-flops from CVS, and it was like the perfect thing. Nice and cheap, right on the credit card. And there it was. And 20 years later, no regrets. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, but just communicate and just compromise all our crazy ideas. And yeah, okay, it doesn't work. Let's try it again. Let's adapt, pivot.
That's good that you have that mindset. I find that fear can paralyze or motivate. How do you reframe it as empowering?
I take every situation, fear, or, and just change it into a positive. Again, how can I change this to have an outcome that's positive? Because I'm just a positive person, so I'm going to get it done no matter what, or I'm going to find a solution and then come, like if someone gives me a problem, I'm going to come back with a solution first. You know what I mean? So it's just really how I live everything.
What are some signs that someone is in danger that you should look out for? So let's say you're walking at a mall, you're at a movie theater. How should you pay attention that, that person might be just in fear, like that they need help?
Sometimes, I know because I was an officer, I can read body language pretty good. But body language, if let's say it wasn't me, but just in general, maybe not even at a mall, but just even someone if they're isolating themselves, or if they're just, like more than usual, is something going on? Are they in danger? Or, a lot of times if they're going through a situation, let's say of abuse, like are they protecting? Or are they being a little bit more timid? Are they isolating themselves from like social, events and venues, and why? A big one too is like, especially with our phones nowadays, like, an overuse of their phone, or not enough, or I'm not allowed, sometimes if it's in a domestic situation or whatnot, getting access to your phone's not allowed, always on your phone, checking your phone all the time. Like those are really big signs, like let's say if one of my friends said to me, oh, I can, my husband always looks at my phone, or like, oh, okay, that's okay, whatever. It's just something to think about, because why, So just always be aware of just those kind of things. And then I always just make sure people are aware of your general, be aware of your surroundings and all that. And, so you don't have to live in fear, but you're just ready and prepared for anything, really.
What kind of, weapons should a person have that's safe to have around? Like, like walk around with maybe dog spray or something like that. Like what is something everyday things that they can carry? Yeah,
it's called EDC, everyday carry. Yes.
Yeah. EDC that can help somebody be a little bit more, at least, prepared. Okay,
so I'll start with, you're not allowed to carry anything.
Of course.
Or have anything for the purposes of self-defense in Canada. Plain and simple. I don't care what it is, right? If it's that water bottle and you're carrying it for the purposes of self-defense, it's bad. You're not allowed. If you're carrying it because you're going to hydrate yourself and, you're thirsty, then it's okay. If it gets used while you're getting attacked, let's say, as a weapon of opportunity, and you knock someone out with it, perfect. Then it's okay, right? Perfect. Then it worked. Yeah. But you have to learn how to articulate on why you had it, right? So you really can't carry anything, any weapons or anything like that, to keep you safe. Okay, but if you happen to have, a tactical flashlight on you, which is a really good, for seeing things in the dark, or a knife on you because, I'm cutting boxes all day, or, an emergency situation where I need to cut my seatbelt off, wink, wink, right? Or if I have coyote spray, dog spray, because you're afraid of dogs when you go out for a walk, that's fine. So those are my top 3, but right. But because you just have to learn how to articulate it. Okay. Why are you carrying that dog spray? Well, mailmen carry dog spray all the time because if a dog approaches them, they're scared. They want to use it. Have you got bitten by a dog before? Are you scared too? Again, if you use them as a weapon of opportunity, if you're getting attacked, I often use a baseball. In my classes, I use the baseball bat story. If you're holding a baseball bat and you're on your way to a baseball game to play baseball, it's fine. If you get attacked while you're on your way to the baseball game and you hit that person, just like the water bottle, essentially, you just have to articulate it. That's what I had in my hand at the time.
Yeah, and you were
right. If you're gonna carry a baseball bat in your car, carry a ball and a glove. You're going to baseball,
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I mean? It's that whole gray area. It's especially with everything going on now, with all the everything. It's how you articulate why you did what you did. Mm-hmm. Could you still get arrested and charged? Yes, but why? Mm-hmm. I was afraid for my life. That's why. Mm-hmm. Hence what happened, right? Mm-hmm. It's articulating why. Mm-hmm. Because you could still get arrested, you could still get charged. Mm-hmm. But it's how you articulate after. And what I often tell people in my classes, if you do something and you hurt somebody, you have to stop when the threat is gone. So if you knock someone out with that baseball bat, that water bottle, and they're on the floor, you don't get on top of them and pummel them again and again and again and again. You stop when the threat is over, because again, then you're going to call the police, or then you're going to run away. So it's to distract and deter, then get away. If the police come up to you and they're saying, what happened here? In a panic, a high stress situation. Oh my God, I stabbed somebody. Oh my God, I hit them. No. Don't be saying that. What you're going to say is, I need to speak to my lawyer. Mm-hmm. And the police will be thankful, trust me, is especially now with their cameras. Back in the day, we didn't have cameras, right? With their cameras now, they can erase what's on their camera. Mm-hmm. So if you're running up to them saying, oh my God, I stabbed someone, you just incriminated yourself on their camera. They can't help you at that point because they have to give that in as evidence. So the first thing, if something bad happens, just say, I need to speak to my lawyer. You're not being rude. They're actually thankful because they're like, oh, thank God. Because
they know the situation.
They know.
They have to do their job.
They have to do their job.
Yeah.
Back in the day, even in domestic situations, we shall arrest. It wasn't like, well, at one point it was. If you go to a domestic situation, you guys need to separate. You're going to go to a hotel and you're going to stay here, whoever wants to do that. What would happen? We leave, 2 hours later, an hour later, half an hour later, the other person would come back and, who knows, do worse. Mm-hmm. So it came, the law, that you shall arrest. Because at that point, unfortunately, in some situation it is unfortunate, you shall arrest. Mm-hmm. Now they're behind bars, they can't come back and get you. And if at that point they get released, that's not your job now. The police did their job. It's up to the judicial system now. Hence, release on bail, come back, release on bail, release on bail. That's not the police's fault. Yeah. In my opinion, but it's not. It's something wrong with the judicial system up there. Mm-hmm. You're going to release them. That's up to you. That's not on us.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. So in a world of self-defense classes, I know you run them. What are some things you should look out for that they are fake or not really experienced? I feel like martial arts self-defense classes have really bloomed in the last, I would even say almost 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you follow an Instagram account called the McDojo.
I do, yeah. Well, I don't follow, but I've seen. Yes, I know that.
And I thank God for them. They post fake dojo places of fake defense, self-defense places. Yeah. And it's some people will fall for this because they just want to feel safe.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So how, and you've trained at a real place with real champions. How does a person who want to get into martial arts or self-defense, how do they know that this place is legit?
Like anything else, I would say do your research. Look at how long has this business been open? Who runs it? Who are they? Do they have not only, let's say, degrees in black belt? I'm talking, what's their history? Do they have actual credentials behind them? Is it gimmick, very gimmicky, or learn this in 3 steps or whatever. Or that being said, easy steps are good, but sometimes you go on social media and you see all these crazy things and it's just just bring it back to basics,
For sure.
But no different than even in the fitness industry when you're following, let's say, fitness influencers or whatnot, and some of the things get really, really crazy. Go back to basics. What's wrong with a squat?
Yeah.
What's wrong with a deadlift? Do you have to do all those crazy? I know it's nice to see visually, it's stimulating and all that, but do your homework, do your research. Don't fall for the gimmicks, and then ask questions. Reach out to anybody. Check their website. Just protect yourself at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. We always ask our guests these last two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Describe yourself in one word.
There's a lot because I do so much, but
What?
empowering.
Spot on there.
Okay.
And what does alpha mean to you?
I think alpha. When I initially think of alpha, I think alpha female, alpha dog, loudest, and kind of in the room and that kind of thing. But to be honest, I think it means being there to lift everybody up when needed. I think it means empowerment. It means strength, resilience, and literally, being there to lift everybody else up. Because that's kind of what I do.
I agree.
I
appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you for having
where
me.
can they find you? What's the best link?
I keep things real simple.
Okay.
Nichelle Laus. That's it. That's all my social media.
I love
and
it.
even my website is nichellelaus.com. And
Perfect.
I do pretty much everything on there.
Shop, where is it?
416 Tactical.
416 Tactical.
Actually, it's 416 Tactical Supply.
Okay.
And that's physically in Etobicoke, or you can also find us online at 416tactical.com.
Perfect. And then also your book. Where can they find it?
Amazon
Perfect.
or Barnes and Nobles as well for anyone else in the US. And it's just called The Safety Blueprint. And Safety Blueprint, and then it's a longer title, but that'll get you. That's the main headline. Yeah.
Perfect. I appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. I don't think you sipped any of your coffee, so.
I'm about a third done.
Okay. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share. It helps the algorithm. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, make sure that you like, you share, you tag. It's a beautiful episode. I hope you guys got a lot from it. Other than that, we love you guys. Ciao.